training, my trainers did prepare me, but not in the way a syllabus or a lesson would plan. They prepared me for the long and brutal battle ahead. I didn't know then that I would carry pieces of their teachings along with the calls they voluntold me to take. All the dead bodies from shootings, domestic violence, overdoses, traffic accidents. I carried them with me, each call, each scenario, tucked away into the first body bag I ever zipped. I didn't know that years later, I'd still be able to picture the bodies, the beanie, the skull inside, the little boy who never knew that his father was capable of killing him. Those images never leave. They only get quieter until another call, another smell, another sound brings them roaring back. What I did know was that quitting was not an option. If I had left because of these moments and because of who had trained me, I'd be handing my career to the very people that doubted me. I couldn't give my internal insecurities that satisfaction. Riding solo from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., every shift, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it was a test of what I had absorbed during training. Every interaction, every corner, every call was a chance to see whether the confidence I'd built could hold against the unpredictability of the streets, and it did. Slowly, methodically, I began to earn respect. The lessons taught me the calm under chaos, the measured authority, the ability to hold my ground without aggression, and that stayed with me until I stepped into many, many shifts, many, many years. I was assigned to dog watch as soon as I got off of training. Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, covering the north side of the town. That part of the city was harsh and complex. 42% impoverished, 57% of the city's homeless population lived there, with more low income subsidized housing and gang activity than anywhere else. I was thrown into the fire. It was a landscape that demanded hypervigilance, patience, and respect. Qualities I had only just begun to fully harness. First Peter chapter 3 verses 3 through 4 says, "Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles or as wearing gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight." This passage reminds me that true beauty is not measured by outward appearance, but by the condition of the heart. Outward adornments fade, but inner character, rooted in gentleness, humility, and strength of spirit, will endure. I felt convicted to live in the wisdom of Peter's words. I wanted to make sure that God projected from me, that my light shined in a dark, cold place, and to show that the unfading beauty of a heart aligned with God's values is more precious than any outward adornment. Despite everything, Dog Watch became a crucible. Every encounter on those streets, chasing loiterers, detaining suspects, breaking up fights, recovering weapons, strengthened my confidence. I just learned to trust my instincts more, to make split decisions, and to communicate authority without aggression. Every time a suspect tried to test me, every time a colleague whispered doubts, I would trust my instincts and I would go forth with peace, calm, and strength. At the time, the department only had two black females. Word traveled fast, and the city soon came to know the new black officer that was named Avery Fox. I was no longer just an officer in uniform. I became the Fox. My name carried weight on the streets, a mixture of curiosity, caution, and recognition. Being the Fox wasn't about ego. It wasn't about being seen or being accountable. It was about being accountable and finally being in my element. One of the hard truths about females in law enforcement is that it's almost a standard practice for female recruits to sleep with their training officers to survive training in the academy. No one ever really knew if it was a fact or if it was just an urban legend that never died. But what I did know was many whispered that my struggles during training were caused by my refusal to give in and to give it up. Race didn't matter Women of every background before me were lumped into this group of chatter, this group that they coerced themselves through training because they compromised. And yet I refused. I didn't give it up. I didn't trade intimacy for advancement. The running joke became that I was the only female officer to survive training on my own terms. I set a precedent, a small but significant rebellion against the culture designed to control women's bodies and future. By my second month on the job as a solo officer, I had heard and seen all that I needed to regarding sexual harassment, though. Some encounters were subtle, some were brazen, and some were outright disturbing. I even had a man masturbate to me while I was detaining him. Others would call me a porn star turned cop, or plead with me to give them a chance, and they would turn their criminal ways around. Hundreds of promises, all empty, all aimed at exploiting a uniformed woman's vulnerability. One day on patrol, I got a call on the other side of town, well outside of my usual service area. But my board was clear, so I decided to respond. I decided to act helpful. When I arrived, I noticed a 20-something-year-old black male with a white t shirt, a little disheveled, one sleeve hanging off the shoulder, as if his shirt hung at an angle. As I got out of the car, he leered and said, "Damn, they weren't lying. Fox, you fine as shit." Trying to diffuse the situation with some levity, I replied, "Well, I don't have to identify myself, do I now?"